Why hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Sally and this is Sally Stitches and my channel that is mostly, at least 50% about my hobby of cross stitch, but it can delve into other hobbies too. The and changes every time. Hey, I got a new title card. Thank you to Cam the Stitcher, Cameron, who was someone that allowed me to reach out to her to ask her about her cool title card, and she shared her secret, and I'm very excited. It's Canva. It's the Canva app. And so I was able to create a little title card and add some music, and I feel way more professional. So thanks, Cameron. I love it. So I wanted to work today on just kind of a big update. I have had a really prolific 2 weeks. You know, this happens maybe twice a year. All of the stars align and I get a lot of things done and a lot of progress done on like a lot of projects all at once. This is by no means my normal level of output. I had a really nice holiday week with my husband and my kids were being home, and so that just really afforded a lot more opportunities for me to cross stitch, and cross stitch I did. So if you watched my extra video recently, I have set myself 2 challenges for this month, actually 2.5 now that I think about it. So the first challenge is I'm participating in the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery's Summerween event. And so the hashtag I use when I post about that is TFPS Summerween. And what I've been working on is a long time work in progress, or WIP, that I am very excited because I think I'm almost going to finish it. So the other challenge I'm doing is one that I made up all by myself, and I'm calling it WIP Miss in July. And that is me just catching up on like 5 or 6 Christmas works in progress that I have. You know, I chose them from my WIP wheel and I'm choosing them every time. So I've set up like kind of an elaborate way of doing this. So let's break it down. So there are 31 days in July, and I like to work on projects in like 3-day stints. I feel like that is just enough time to make meaningful progress without getting bored and like distracted by the new and the bright and the awesome new things that I want to do. So I'm alternating between Summerween stitching and Whipmas stitching every 3 days. And so I started this month, the first 3 days of the year, or the month, with Summerween stitching on my Halloween wreath project. And then I did 3 days of Whipmas stitching. And then I just finished 3 days of Summerween stitching. And I'm gonna start 3 days of Whipmas stitching today because today is July 10th. So I'm on round 2. But I wanted to give you an update on what I've gotten done because it's a lot. So let's start with the Summerween stitching first. Let me get this out. So I will try to put a photograph or a little screen grab of where I started, but I'll also describe it too. Let me show you where we are today. I stayed up way too late stitching this yesterday. Look, I am almost done with this wreath. So when I started, I had this section and the house, and then kind of up to like this line, all that stuff was complete. And in the last 6 days of stitching, I've added this big witch and this bat and this broom and this cauldron, and yesterday I did this frog. It was not without a little drama. I had a miscounted section that I had to fix. I fixed it mostly just because the stitching was kind of confetti-ish by duplicate stitching over the wrong stitches, and I don't feel it. It's kind of up in this section right here. I think because this section is like the bubbles of the cauldron, it's really not noticeable. When I finish this project, I'm going to make it into a throw cushion for Halloween decoration. I made the Christmas wreath that's kind of the companion piece to this a couple years ago, and that's a throw cushion. And so I think what I'll do is I'll make a cushion cover, and then I can swap it out and just use the same cushion insert, because cushion storage can get kind of unwieldy, right? Let's take a closer look. Isn't it fun? There's just a lot to look at. Also makes me a little hungry for Halloween candy. So that is my summer progress. Now, if I end up finishing this this month, then I think what I'll do is I'll pick another Halloween project as a new start. The Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery, as part of their Summerween celebration, is doing weekly sales on bundles of their patterns. They have 31 Halloween themed patterns, and I have not stitched all of them. And so I'll find one that I haven't stitched and get started on that as best I can. I think that'll be a lot of fun. If you're interested, and this is not like SponCon, I'm just like a fangirl, which is why I know this. The Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery has a mega bundle of Halloween patterns available this month. I think it's all 31 patterns for $70, and that's a good deal. That's like less than, you know, a little more than $2 a pattern. And you think of all the work that went into them and the size of some of these patterns, I think it's a really good deal. So go to the frostedpumpkinstitchery.com and take a look and pick out something cute to stitch. And Summerween stitching is going to be my new tradition, I think, because it's been a lot of fun. So the other thing that I worked on was my Whitmas stitching, and I have good news. I actually finished my first Whitmas project. And this is a project that I've actually talked about on this channel because I kept putting it off and putting it off. And now that it's finished, I'm like questioning my sanity. Why did I do that? Because it's so cute. So here's my first Whitmas in July finish. Ta-da! Isn't that cute? So this is We Santa 2023 by Heart and Hand Needleart. This was a kit I purchased from Chantelle's 141 last year as part of a stitch along. The kit included the bender board, the floss, which is all the called for DMCs, and then the pattern pamphlet. I ended up supplying my own fabric, which is a 32 count neutral cut. It's kind of like a special edition or like mystery fabric from Color and Cotton. And I also did the pom-pom border. This is Lady Dot Creates in Ballerina. And then this is my favorite part. I made these stars. So I knew that these stars existed, and this is funny because this like sawtooth star motif repeats itself in a lot of different crafts I'm working on right now. It's the basis for the cardigan that I've been knitting that I showed you last time, and the quilt that I just finished has a lot of them too. But I knew that you could make ornaments out of like twill tape or ribbon, and so I looked on YouTube for a tutorial, and I found a really good one. Erica Arndt has a tutorial that's very easy peasy. It only takes about 10 minutes to do one of these, and I'm gonna link the tutorial in my description below. But there's a close look. I made these stars. This one is made out of twill tape, which I had in stock, and I really liked it, but you know, it kind of got this like shark tooth curvy thing going on. And then I ended up going to Joann Fabrics and I bought bias tape just from the package because I looked for twill trim and their trim was pretty light this time. This is a little thicker and a little harder to work with, but I got it to work. And my tip, you know, pro tip for that is just work on just being patient and maybe use some tweezers to pull, you know, some of the tighter ribbons through. But I think it's really cute. And I think later today I'm going to take a photograph of it for my Instagram. I also like to participate in these weekly Instagram Pyrex challenges. My friend Connie and Marcel from, Connie is Too Cool Vintage 13 and Marcel is Marcelly Mama. I'll put their Instagram handles right here. They host a weekly hashtag prompt called #Pyrex Plus. And so the plus changes every time, kind of like Sally Stitches and every time, right? And this week was Pyrex Plus Christmas in July. And I already made a post for it, but I think I need to make another post. So I'll have to find a Pyrex dish that I think would look really cute with this and take a little glamour shot, and that'll be fun. So after I finished that, and that took about 2 days of my first 3-day Whitmas in July stitching round, I went ahead and I spun my whip wheel. I use this app called Tiny Decisions. And Tiny Decisions helped me choose the next project. And that is this right here. This is another design also by Heart and Hand Needleart. This is actually a collaboration between Heart and Hand and Bent Creek. And this is from an event they did called French Stitch. And you know, I ironed, but I wasn't very fastidious about it. And so That's kind of wrinkly there. But when I started, I just had this deer, and the deer didn't even have the little like saddle or, you know, robe or whatever it has on it that's on its back that looks like a saddle. And it was just, kind of just, it was brown. It was a brown sampler. This is on Ihart You, Fiberlicious Yummy Fibers. It's 28 count. But now that I've added more of the other colors in, I'm really enjoying it. It's like a warm Christmas color. This is a long skinny piece, so the halfway point is probably kind of where my hand is holding it on this side. When I get it done, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it into a drum, because I just think that that would be a cute way to display it. Maybe with like a gingerbread house, that would be really cute. So that was the next thing I worked on, and I worked on it for about a day and a half. And then I went back to my Halloween stitching, and today I spun the wheel again. And I'll show you what I'm going to work on now. I like using this wheel. It makes me feel like, I don't know, it's like I'm leaving it up to luck, and I just think that's kind of fun. So let me get this board so I can display this a little better. This is another design by the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery. And I've got a hanging thread here, apologize. But this is Christmas on Gingerbread Lane. And I've got a cute needle minder I pulled out that coordinates. This is one of the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery needle minders that Maria of a Needle Runs Through It makes. It's like a peppermint latte, which is cute because there's a lot of peppermint in this pattern. So this series has 3 houses. You know, so there's one more house that needs to go on this side. And then there's a foreground with like a kind of a sampler style, like the numbers 1 through 25. And then there's gingerbread men, and there are people, and they're doing all sorts of winter activities. I am excited to work on this for the next 3 days. I'd like to maybe get like some of the foreground in, you know, so I can kind of see the complete picture, the finished dimensions. And so that'll be the area I'm concentrating on after I finish this gumdrop house. I'm going to put it away real quickly. Forgive me. I'm using this bag that Tiffany from Black Cat Stitchery made. I'm covering the pattern. It's in the vinyl window there. But it's very, very festive. And so, do you like to do like special prompts to do like works in progress? I know some people like to do whip go, which is kind of like bingo, where I believe it's Jessie from Jessie Marie Does Stuff. She rolls or calls numbers every month, and you base your project planning based on that. Stitch alongs are another great way to kind of do project, you know, get you that like partner accountability there, you know, and that's fun for a lot of people. I really like to use this whip wheel and this 3-day method. I've gotten a lot done this month, but I also kind of like to just, you know, make what I want to make. And, you know, that's the thing that's fun about crafts is you can set goals, but you don't have to be strict. No one's going to fire you from your crafting job, right? So, hey, I'm participating in a couple other stitch alongs, and I'll show them to you real quickly. So I'm all caught up on Arctic Animal Sal. I added the walrus, and actually right before I filmed, I put his whiskers on because I realized I'd forgotten. The next clue for this releases later this week, and I will definitely work on it at the same time, especially if I finish that Halloween wreath early. So maybe I'll work on, you know, that clue instead of the Halloween wreath. I'm not sure. So this is another pattern that came with a cute needle minder. It's a puffin with a telescope. And then that's their little mascot. His name is Jack. There's actually 2 mascots. There's a pumpkin named Sugarloaf, and then a pumpkin jack-o'-lantern handle thing named Jack. So it's cute. This is a project that I also have in a Black Cat X Stitchery bag, and I'm really excited. I'm using one of these floss rings for this project because there's just so much floss, and I'm enjoying this. This is a ring that is by Adam Hart Cross Stitch, and I have the thread chips on it that have the space for the thread that you've split, or the floss that you've split, and then for the rest of the skein. I followed a tutorial on the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery's website on how to do this. So basically you take a DMC skein and you pull it all the way out and then split it into 1 yard cuts. I tried 18 inches and that is too short for me. So I prefer to have like 1 yard of floss at a time. And then, yeah, once you do that, you cut it. And so each of those DMC skeins has been cut into 8 pieces that are 1 yard each. So it feels very organized. In fact, I like those thread chips so much that I have a little bit of haul to show you that I got this last month. And isn't this pretty? So this is from Ihart Cross Stitch. This is the exact same kind of floss chip. It's a set of 25. Let me count them real fast. Yeah, 25. And I had to get it because I have a thing for rainbows, in case you didn't notice, based on like the home tours I've showed and just like my whole aesthetic. And so I am excited to pick out a project to use these with. So yeah. The other stitch along that I've been working on, speaking of rainbows, is 324 by Works by ABC. I'm doing a block a day, and so I've got 14 blocks because I've been working on it for 2 weeks, but there we go. So I'm doing them in diagonal rows. So today I'm going to add this one. Now the downside of doing diagonal rows is that every other row you do is just these little squares, which are just like little 5 by 5 squares. So I thought about doing them in pairs so that like I alternate every day between a square and a fun block, but I haven't decided yet. I find that it's easier to do this to kind of keep track of what color to use, because the floss key is just a giant number grid and each number is a different floss because there's 324 colors in this. So I have a pretty respectable amount of orts in my ort jar. I'm going to collect all of them for every day. So these are both orts and then like the rest of whatever split I did. So when I pull a piece of floss, it's 6 strands. I'll split off 2, and usually I only use those 2 to make the block, or maybe sometimes I'll use 2 of them and then have 2 left. So that's what all of this is. I'm kind of surprised that it's already taking up so much space in the jar, but we'll see. Maybe I'll have to go do a bigger jar later. So that's pretty much it for cross stitch news. I do have a project that I'm excited to start, and I thought I brought a thing with me, but I don't see it, so it might have fallen. Okay, well, I'll show you the pattern part. So you might remember my friend Jen Nasca, who I've known for a long time and I've gone to a couple of retreats with. Jen is actually thinking about starting a channel, so hey Jen, it's a lot of fun. Start a channel, be my Flosstube friend. She gave me at StitchCon a yellow spool, and I set it down somewhere and I don't know where I put it. So I will put a photograph of it right here, but it's really cute. It's like an antique, like weathered spool. And I knew right away that I had to stitch this project. So I just picked up this pattern. I purchased it from Top Knot Stitcher. This is Bobbin by Stacy Nash. Isn't it cute? So I'm actually going to use the offcut of that 32 count color and cotton that I just made. Oh, actually though, I'm looking and it looks like the called for is for 36 count. So I will have to get a 36 or a 40 count. And that makes sense because it's got to fit the spool. I have a couple of the flosses I pulled from like the floss I had on hand. This project uses Weeks Dye Works. I went ahead and I actually ordered the rest of them because I will make the little coordinating pin keep too. So I'm excited. I get to use like the leftover fabric, so I'm not like cutting like a little bite out of a big piece of fabric and then like wasting the rest. I mean, it's not a waste if you keep it, but sometimes I find that when you cut into the fabric, then the rest of the fabric is kind of like just goes unused for a long time and then you forget about it and then you're like, what is this? And I like to use them when they're fresh. So boy, it really bothers me that I can't find that bobbin. I wonder if I set it down in another room. Anyway, that's all of my stitchy progress. Now I just want to talk really briefly about knitting, just for like a minute and a half, because I made some progress that I wanted to mark. Now I've not worked on my cardigan this month, but I finished my first sock. Isn't that cool? So this is the Cliff Walk sock project I'm doing, and this is the start of my second sock. So the second sock is going to be a lot easier because I don't have to follow the pattern anymore for everything. What I can do is I can count, like since this is a pattern that has a repeating lace design, I can count, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 before I hit the heel. And so I don't have to count all the individual rounds on this one. I can just wait until I have 8 pattern repeats, and then I know it's time to start the heel. And so I'm hoping that theoretically that means that the second sock is going to go a lot faster. So the yarn I am using is by Forbidden Fiber Company. This was a line she did for like zodiac, and this is my zodiac sign, Sagittarius. Now, I just saw some pictures today. It looks like Leanne is moving to a bigger studio space, and she just has like lots of yarn. I like this yarn a lot. It's a little thicker than like the fingering weights that I'm used to, but it's got a lot of springiness to it, and it's been a pleasure to knit with. I do have circulars to do sock circular knitting with like a circular needle. I have them. I just don't prefer them for travel projects. I find it's easier to count when I have my needles divided on double points, like what I have here. And I don't have to use markers. I don't have to use anything because the needles themselves become the markers. These needles are great. These are by Knitter's Pride or Knit Pro if you're in the United Kingdom. They're called Carbons with a K and a Z, I guess, at the end. But they're like some sort of carbon fiber needle, and then the points are made out of metal. I've had them for a long time, and they have that flexibility of like a wooden or a bamboo needle, but I haven't broken one yet, which is cool because I break bamboo needles all the time. They're like toothpicks. And I think that, you know, they have that like slick point that a metal needle can give you. So I find that, you know, depending on the style needle you use, it really changes your produced fabric. You know, wooden needles are a little stickier, so I tend to knit a little tighter because I'm struggling to move the yarn on and off the needle. So, you know, anyway, that's it for my knitting chat. So let's talk about what we're gonna do the rest of this video. So the biggest project I finished this week is I made a whole quilt, and I took a little bit of filming. You know, I actually had pieced this quilt last year for a quilt along that was hosted by Allison Glass, who's a fabric designer. She makes these beautiful rainbow collections of fabric, and I mean, that makes my rainbow heart happy. So I gotta do one of her quilts. So Allison Glass actually has a new quilt along that is starting just right now, and I wanted to start that, but I don't have a sewing room, and quilting is probably one of the most challenging, you know, crafts to do because of the way my crafting area is set up. So I'm gonna show you my setup. I'm gonna show you, you know, like the quilt I just finished. I'm gonna show you my other ongoing quilt project because I've got a quilting whip. And then I'm also going to show you the new project, the stamp quilt along, the fabrics I chose. So I love quilting. I have a lot that I want to share with you, and I'm hoping that I can get most of that in one video. The other thing that I wanted to show you today is I just did a little bit of a table decoration refresh yesterday, and I filmed a lot of that, so I thought I would share. I took down my patriotic projects, and I ended up putting those away for the season because I've made all these really cute kind of like summer adventure themed things, like that national park thing I made last month, and you know, like the strawberry mouse. And I just thought that it would be fun to have kind of a generic like summer adventures display at the table that we eat. That's where I do most of my seasonal decorating. And so it was a lot of fun, just kind of a rainy day, you know, just getting a lot of things done. It's actually raining today too. We have hurricane barrel rain or tropical depression barrel rain going through Michigan, and that's weird. We're under a flood watch, and I went to the grocery store this morning and saw that there's like a retaining pond near a grocery store, and it was like up to the sidewalk. So we might have some flooding today. Fingers crossed for my craft dungeon. So anyway, let's go ahead and move to the quilting area, and we can talk about quilt stuff next. Can you see me? Hi. So it is time for a summer refresh. Now that the 4th of July has ended, I want to kind of de-emphasize the patriotic stitching and do something that's more kind of like summer in general here. And so I'm gonna put my 2 patriotic pieces away, and then I'm going to bring out some other summer themed seasonal stuff. Oh, my cat just knocked something down. I'll be right back. That was my fault for leaving the treats out. So anyway, let's take down our patriotic pieces. Bloop, that was easy. I only had a few of them. So this was Summer Sparkler Party by the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery. I had some Lego roses in this jar. I'm gonna put this away for next summer. And the other one I'm putting away is Liberty's Lights. Stars, Stripes, and Liberty's Lights. This is also by the Pumpkins, and it's got a little crown made out of paper on the top. It's really cute. So we'll see you next summer, guys. So now, just getting rid of like some of the overall red, white, and blue vibes, I am going to take some of these vintage pieces out of this display too. So anything that basically I kind of feel like it's time to replace with something else. Now this is a little bee. I think I'm gonna keep this one out because I think it's cute. Get over on this side. Whoops, I forgot there was wax on that. Okay, well now it looks really sad and barren. I think the first thing that we need to do is we need to work on the little centerpiece cloche. And so let's get you a little closer so that we can build something together. Okay, I could spend all day doing this, but let's go ahead and just get started. The first thing I like to do is I have this Viking glass cake stand that I like for this cloche because it adds a little height. And then I have these Hazel Atlas Modern Tone like sherbet cups that I'm gonna stick, and I'm gonna go ahead and just stick it right on the wax that I had from that other piece. That makes it really nice and secure. Now inside this, because it's an ice cream cup, I'm gonna put my little ice cream crochet guy. Cute. Let's tip this up a little bit so we can see. There we go. Okay, so moving around here, I think I have a little space underneath. And so let's experiment with some more glass figurines here. I brought out a couple different whales and a brass seal that I have here. So I got this little whale right here. I think he fits right underneath. Will this whale fit? Let's see, this is a bigger whale. He does. They're nose booping. There we go. And this is that brass seal. And so now, to make our Seaside thing complete, I think I'm going to take my little make do that I made. This is a little felt figurine I made that I put in a cup. I'm gonna put that right there. And then I think let's go ahead and get the pineapple in here too. So the pineapple, I can use a pin, like a little kickstand, in the back of its leg, and then I can stand them up right there. Move those seal. I think that's pretty cute. So, you know, obviously you'll be looking at this at a couple different angles, but that's probably the front right there. Let's fix the whales. So let's cover it up. Like a cone of silence, right? That was hard to do over the camera. So there she goes. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna scoot it, and it's gonna become the center of our display. Okay, well, I gotta put my new things in, so let me go grab them. First off, this is a really cute book that I bought for my son. It's called 50 Adventures in the 50 States. And I like it because it looks really cute with my new National Parks cross stitch piece. So I am going to go ahead and use this. Let me back you up a little bit so we can see. Whoopsie, sorry. Like I bumped you in real life, right? So, okay, so let's go ahead. Let's tuck this like right here. And then let's go get National Parks. Here it is. So that's gonna be like my new National Parks side of the display. Audrey, you're being a menace. I think that we can also go ahead and put my little Mackinac Island mug, and I've gotta go intercept a cat. Be right back. Okay, she has been fixed. Now, I wanna mix some more vintage stuff in here, and I have these really cute vintage ice cream boxes, and you can just fold them back up. I do it very carefully so I don't rip them here. So then they go like that, right? So I think that what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually put it in there to give this a little height. That's cute. There we go. Put our bee back in here too. So I'm pretty happy with that side right there. Let's go ahead and flip the other side. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and just temporarily move these beach guys out. And I wanna put some Pyrex in on this side. And so I took out the red, white, and blue Pyrex, and now I have this set right here. This is a set called Rainbow Stripe, and I have a pink little bowl, a tan middle bowl, and then a blue big bowl. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm going to go ahead and put my old Pyrex away. Sorry, you're gonna hear me clatter. And then I'm gonna go ahead and make a stack like I did last time. So let's move this so you can see me stack it. So I use these floral rounds from the craft store, and I put them in the bottom of the biggest bowl. And then I can stack the next bowl up. And then for this, I've got like an old plastic dish thing. I need to go buy more floral rounds. They actually work a lot better. And then I've got that right there. And then I'm gonna go ahead and grab another one of those Modern Tone cups, and I'm gonna nestle it in the very top right here, because in the top of this bowl, I'm gonna go ahead and put my third crochet guy, which is my surfboard. So let's go ahead and put them right there. Cute. So now let's get this over, and then we'll fix it when we get there. I like that. So this side, I really wanted to highlight my strawberry cross stitch pieces, because I think like strawberry and ice cream kind of go together. In fact, I probably will, now that I'm thinking about it, switch the ice cream figurine with the surfboard figurine so that makes more sense. I'll do that off camera though, because it's a lot of maneuvering. So anyway, this is an old cross stitch piece that I've had for a while. This is Berry Picking and Ice Cream Licking by the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery. I made these little felt strawberries on my own with the leaves out of felt. And so I'm gonna put that in the corner here. And then I have my new one, Mouse's Strawberry Jam. Just gonna go right there. So let's make sure it lines up though. There's a little wrinkle in the tablecloth that's making it tip forward. So let's just do that. There we go. There's a lot of fussing around that happens with this process. It's not like boring for you guys. Okay, and then the last piece that I definitely wanted to include was Summer Folk by Hands On Design. And I'm gonna go ahead and just lean it right here on the edge, and then maybe make some changes a little bit. So let's go ahead and work with that and then see if there's something else I want to maybe do here. Hey again, I had a medical appointment that I had to go to, and so I did that, and now I've returned, and I think I'm pretty happy with this display. So let's go over it bit by bit. So I've got my berry picking right here. And then I used some more of those vintage ice cream boxes to prop up my summer folk paddle. That way we can see more of the pattern. And then I've got my strawberry Mouse's Strawberry Jam. That's the name of the pattern. I always say it the wrong way. And then I've got my rainbow striped Pyrex bowls, which always remind me of ice cream, with my little ice cream guy here. And actually, this is where I'm gonna make a change. I have a little paper towel that I grabbed from my kitchen. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wad it up into like a little ball, make a little nest. And then I'll play around with that. I might have to cut this in half to make it a little smaller. But what I was trying to do is I was trying to create like a little nest so that this guy sits up a little taller, because I want you to see his cute little feet. So I will cut that down later, but I'm gonna do it on the other side too. So moving around on this side of the table, we've got adventures. I have my recently completed National Park Service. And then I've got, you know, an ice cream thing there on my magnet. And then I have another little cup. Let's do the paper towel trick again. I will fix it. Maybe you have tissue paper. Oh yeah, I have tissue paper. I'll get some pretty colorful tissue paper and do it that way. Okay, that's not working. So anyway, little pineapple guy, some more ice cream and fun adventures. This is always like, even though my house is not yellow, I always think of this as coming home. So, and then this is my cloche, and I made some changes. So I still have the whales on the bottom, and then I have my Seaside Make Do and my surfboard, and then I put Seaside Tiny Town on the top. So I think it just looks really cute. And then I've got Happy Summer, and that's the table. So the cross stitch pieces that were up top, I've just replaced with some jadeite style bowls that kind of flow into my mid-century modern thing. The last thing I have to do is, this black thing is like my incoming mail stuff, and I'm gonna go through and file what needs to be filed and throw away what needs to be thrown away. Hey Flosstube friends, so I took some footage of myself finishing my most recent quilt. Now this is a quilt that I started over a year ago. The pattern is Carousel Medallion. The design is by Allison Glass, and all of the fabric is from Allison Glass too. It's a pattern line that she had called Wildflowers. So I had pieced this quilt a whole year ago, and it has just been sitting in my craft table area for this last year. And so about 2 weeks ago, I decided I was ready to finish it. I had to lay it out in my living room because this is the only place I have space. And the very first thing I had to do was baste it. I used pins to baste, and it's nerve-wracking, and it took a really long time, but I'm glad that I got it done. So now I'm gonna go ahead and get some sewing in. Okay, so Nathan is playing outside. This is not ideal quilting time, but I'm going to just try to do a seam at a time. So I'm starting with the center seams on both sides of the quilt, and then I'm going to move my way toward the edge of the quilt. So I have a Janome QDC 3160. It is a travel size sewing machine that my mom and my sister gave me. So what I've done is I've rolled up half of the quilt as best I can, so it'll feed through the armhole of the machine. And then this side, I have as much table as I can get, you know, just to support that side of the quilt. And I've also gotten my, you know, big, whatever that is, surface thing there. So I'm just gonna take it real slow, and we'll just try to get some seams without it getting kind of dragged through the machine and puckery and gross. So let's try it. And then it was back into the living room to trim the edges and then putting the binding on. That was my favorite part. Felt like I was at the finish line. So I am about a half hour from finishing my quilt. Yay, so exciting. So this is what I do. You might be able to see it. It's hard to get it to focus. I'm making little tiny hem stitches to fold this binding over to encase all of the raw edges on the quilt. So this side right here was added to the front of the quilt by machine, and then this side is the hand sewing. And this is the only hand sewing basically for this whole quilt. I use one of these clover clips. I find it really handy. I'm just like moving it every couple inches as I need to. And then it's like just really relaxing. I'm catching up on other people's Flosstube videos, and let's finish it up. Hey, there it is. This is the bobbin I was talking about. Okay, let's go to the other room. So we're in our family room now, and this is my quilting setup, minus this giant yoga ball. So this is something my kid likes to play with, and we store it on this side because that side's not, that's the family room right there. So I have a limited amount of space, and one of the biggest challenges of quilting is quilting really requires you being able to spread the whole thing out at some point to look at. I do keep a cutting table. Here, let's move you closer. So when I have my ironing board out, I can put it right there, and then I fold it and I put it in the corner over here when I'm not ironing. Behind my big cross stitch craft console, I keep my cutting mat, and then I can get that in and out as needed. Oh no, I just knocked my art over. That's a blooper there. There we go. Sorry. So anyway, you can see that this is a chaotic thing, and it's maybe not something that is conducive to getting a lot of quilting done, but I make do with what I have. When I quilt, I like to keep all of the items for the project in a project box, and I've got a couple here that I wanted to show you. First off, this right here is a bunch of leftover fabric that I had from my quilt that I just finished. This is the leftover fabric from the cross stitch piece I did. And then these are some cool pieces I found when I was looking for my glue gun yesterday. These are offcuts from other pieces. These are from when I made the Satsuma Street, Wizard of Oz, and Alice in Wonderland pieces. So I made like strip blocks, and then I cut them diagonally to make the diagonal blocks that you see in the pattern. A couple years ago, I made a Christmas tree skirt, and that was the other deal. You piece some strips, and then you end up cutting out the pieces that you need for the skirt. And then all of this fabric right here came from the edges of the quilt that I just finished. Now, what I like to do is I like to save as many scraps as I can. And so the reason this mess is all out here is because I want to try to find a purpose for these things. I'm thinking that what I might try to do is make some sort of project bag or project pouch. I'm going to look for some patterns that are cute. You know, my friend Carrie, who I met at StitchCon, who is Tiger Lily Designs, has some really, really cool pouch projects and pattern keeper designs available on our Etsy. I probably will find something and maybe do some sort of crazy quilt thing, you know, to use this fabric up. So this is a project box. I have two of them, so I can have two quilt projects kind of running at the same time. Now this one is mostly empty because I just finished a big quilt, but this is an excellent place to put my notions, especially the ones that are kind of sharp and dangerous. I have a rotary cutter, which is not locked, and it should be. Always lock your rotary cutter. There, now it's safe. I've got my scissors. This right here is a bobbin nest. So I have used bobbins in here, and then I have, you know, fresh bobbins that I can use for my next thing. This is the thread that I use for 99% of my projects. This is something that you can buy at Joann Fabrics. It's Gutermann, and it is 100% cotton, and it's the medium gray color, because medium gray matches everything. Got a pin cushion. And then these are the basting pins I use when I baste quilting layers together. And you can see there's safety pins that have a little bit of an angle to them, so they're easy to pierce through all of those quilting layers. So I'm gonna go ahead and just keep all these notions in this box because I'm about ready to start my next quilt project. Let me go get the fabric so I can show you what I'm making. So the Allison Glass Stamp Along project is something that I decided to join. You pay a membership fee, and that includes the pattern for the quilt. You can make like a full size, like I would say like a throw quilt. Although since their blocks are customizable, you can make as big of a quilt as you want. I am going to go ahead and make a smaller quilt this time. I just finished that huge quilt project, and then the other project I have has been sitting for a while. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a wall hanging quilt for my dining room. And so the quilt itself is laid out like postage stamps, and I decided that 4 rows and 4 columns would be good. That'd be 16 postage stamps. So this is the first thing that I bought. This is a quilt panel from Allison Glass that has some really cute stamp patterns, and there are 16 of them in a variety of warm colors. So here's this side, and then here's this side. I should just get this box out of the way so I can lay this flat. Boom, like that. So I have all these really pretty warm colors all the way through. Now the postage stamps are made by using this striped fabric. This is like a stamp stripe. So you can see that there are all these like little cutouts. So as I line up each of these stamps, we'll do some tricky things with like mitered corners so that the edge of each of these images is going to have that postage stamp look to it. I'm really excited about that. I think it's going to be really cool. So I've got this really pretty kind of like golden yellow color. It's called lichen. They had a lot of different stamp colors to choose from. And so I've got that for the quilt. And then I'm going to use sashing for in between the quilt. And I just got this color because I thought that this would coordinate really well. I'm so used to doing like all over rainbow quilts that I thought that this would be kind of a challenge to do like a monochromatic quilt. I mean, it's not monochromatic, but it's like warm colors and it's not all the colors. And so I'm going to play around with that. So when you do sashing, you have all the little strips that surround each piece, and then you have what's called a keystone or like a little block that you put in between each sash, you know, to kind of connect it all together, like at each intersection. I haven't decided what fabric I'm going to use, but I decided I did want to use just like scrap fabric that I already have. Anytime I finish a quilt, I pre-cut the little pieces that are left over and I put them organized by size in my stash. And so I know I've got squares that are probably really close to the size I would need for this project, and I don't want to buy additional fabric. I also have a lot of fat quarter bundles that I could cut into if I wanted to. So speaking of fabric, I'm going to get sidetracked here for a second. First though, let me put this fabric in my project box. Now I'm organized, right? So there's that. The other thing that I purchased from Allison Glass is this ruler. Oh, let's see if I can put it against this so you can see it better. So this is a special ruler specific for this project. It has all of the little lines up so that I can get all of those corners mitered like as well as I can do. So I thought that the mitered corners were intimidating for this project for me, and so might as well. So I don't want to be frustrated. So when I'm ready to start this project, I've got everything ready. The first step is going to be cutting the fabric, and I'll provide a little update next time I post a video so you can see. So I was getting sidetracked with fabric, and I'm going to show you. Let me see if I can spin you around. I'll do a fade so this isn't dizzy and gross for you guys. But okay, so this is my fabric stash. It is in need of some organizing, but I have a lot of fat quarters that are in here, and anything that is like fat quarter size or at least like fat 8th sized, I do folded and then I put them in these little wooden boxes. I have not had any issues with sun fading, which is good. And so here we go back to the table. Sorry. But the fabric I wanted to show you was this fabric right here. This is a spoonflower fabric, that was designed by the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery. I got 2 1/4 yard cuts of it because I ordered a 1/2 yard and that's what they ended up doing. I don't know why they didn't just do continuous, but yeah. So when I finish that pattern, I'm going to go ahead and use this fabric for the cushion cover. I think that'll be really pretty. I also bought some other Halloween themed fabrics that I've got right here. These are all designed by Ruby Star Society. And I can have a lot of fun. I've got a lot of really pretty fabric colors. Oh, this is another one. So this is from last year's line. I bought it about the time I started the pattern. So I don't know if these particular ones are available, but they do cute Halloween and Christmas fabrics every year. So if they aren't, you'll be able to find something. So fabric is great. You can use it for quilting. You can use it for your cross stitch finishing. I recommend getting a fabric stash, but you know, keeping it in control too. Moderation, right? This is the other quilt project I've been working on, and I'm going to be frankly very honest here. The reason I haven't worked on this is because I'm really, like, every time I open the box, it is just such a chaotic mess of pieces inside that I'm like, ugh, and then I put it back. First off, this is the quilt. I will put an actual picture of it, but it is like an atomic starburst quilt, and it's diamond shaped blocks. The designer is named Violet Craft. And what this sheet right here is this is a color key I made myself to do the layout. I snipped like a teeny tiny little corner of each fabric so that I could, you know how I'm going to put it together later. You can kind of see in the corner, each of these diamond blocks has like 2 like kind of V-shaped sashes, and then they all get connected that way. I've never done piecing that is on the diagonal before, and I'm a little nervous about it, but I'll get it done. So they're mixed, the diamond blocks, there's a mix of them. There are solid colored diamond blocks like this, and see how wrinkly these are? I'm like, ugh, gross. So a whole line of colors for these. I used a fat quarter bundle for this project, and the bundle I used is Florida 2 by Ruby Star Society, and it's all kind of like ocean themed. There's some beautiful purples and grays and darks. This one's cool. It's got an alligator on it. So yeah, so that's what we've got there. So we've got solid blocks there. And then we have these starburst blocks. Let me try to find one that's dark so you can see it. Yeah, that's a good one. Starburst blocks. Now these are made by Foundation Paper Piecing. And so I have a little paper template that I've printed out, and then you just follow the directions on the lines. So you start with, you know, line A1, and then B2, A3, B4. And as you're doing that, you're pressing the pieces in between. And then on this side, you end up with this cool star design. This was also challenging for me because these are some skinny pieces, and I always mess up the orientation of how you lay the blocks together whenever you're doing foundation paper piecing. But I have them all together. And then I've started piecing sashing around some of these blocks. And then I've started piecing sashing around some of the blank blocks too. Because the background fabric for this quilt is this speckled like gray. I picked it because this is kind of a retro inspired quilt with the starbursts. And I thought that this gray fabric with like the little gold sparkle in it would look a lot like old school Formica cabinets. I know it's really hard to see because it's like gray out here. There, you can kind of see the speckling there. Yeah, like that. But it's metallic, and so it's got a little shimmer to it, which is fun. So this is one of the 8 million sashing pieces. What I really need to do, especially since I've gotten the other pattern out, is I need to just like get my ironing board out, and I need to make little like neatly pressed piles of things. And then I can start putting them together like puzzle pieces. I think that the outlook on this is good, that I will finish this year, but I'm gonna have fun with the stamp quilt first. I just was reminded of this project this week. So my friends Carrie and Tiger Lily Designs and Shelly from Antique Needleworkers are doing a quilt along. Their quilt along is called the Grumpy Susan quilt along, and it's an English paper piecing project that requires like 1,000 hexagons that you piece together. Now, I have an English paper piecing project that I've started that I haven't worked on, and that is this right here. So these are really cute. This was a piece of fabric that was a panel designed by Heidi Kenny. So the same lady that makes the plushes that I used to collect. And the panels had all of these cute little motifs. Here, I have one that's cut up right here. And I'm using paper piecing hexagons, there's a needle, to make all of these little hexies. I also have some coordinating solid colors in the exact same color tone so that I can fill in with like empty spaces. Oh, look, a little syrup bottle. Yeah, so each of these are really cute. Now, originally what I was going to do is I was going to make a wall hanging. There's a designer, her name is Modern Handcraft, modernhandcraft.com, that does a really cool hexie design that actually isn't English paper pieced. You do the hexagon templates, but then what you end up doing is you end up kind of machine sewing it to like a whole cloth piece. And so you kind of have like easy, quick hexagon placement. And so I was going to make that with that. I actually have two of these boxes because I bought this fabric twice. So the first time I bought this fabric, it was a spoonflower print. And so this is like on the petal fabric. Now, the second yard I got, which I didn't realize is identical, was something that I think was produced like commercially by Andover. And that's something that fabric designers will do sometimes. If they retain the rights to their design, then once it's been printed by Robert Kaufman or RJR or whoever is manufacturing the fabric, sometimes the artist will end up submitting the design to Spoonflower and then, you know, they can make more fabric through Spoonflower. And I like Spoonflower fabric, but it definitely is a different texture than like commercially, you know, purchased fabrics. It's a little thicker. You know, the printing is just a little different, like usually a little less saturated. And so I made these hexies, but then I realized that I really couldn't mix them because they are just a little too different. Like the colors are off a little bit. But this is where I was thinking we could have some fun because I already have those hexies set up as a project for, you know, a giant wall hanging. These hexies, oh look, there's a vintage television set. These would make a pretty sweet project bag. And I could do the actual proper English paper piecing with this because it would just be a bag. Now, I make that sound easy, but it probably would still be like 200 little hexies, you know, just because of how things go, like for an 11-inch by 14-inch bag. But I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking that might be fun. So I'm going to just keep this out on the table to inspire me, and we'll see. Not like I don't have enough projects, right? So this is my quilting center. I like it that it is modular. I can use this area for other stuff like finishing cross stitch. My kids can use it for art supplies. You know, sometimes we eat here because it's right by the patio. And you know, I make do. I think that it would just be wonderful to have a craft room that I could close off and just kind of escape to. But that's not my life right now, and that's okay. I can accept it and I can make do with what I've got. This is my first quilt I ever made. This is Ihart You by Pen and Paper Patterns, and then came June. It was a collaboration. And I did the quilting, you know, like the piecing part, and then my mom did the quilting. And she did a really cool thing. She did matchstick quilting in the background, and then she did a diagonal thing because I thought it would look cool and I didn't realize the work it would take. So this is a throw size quilt. I haven't thought about this in a while, so it's kind of fun I got it back out. And this is Lumen. Now, a fun story about this quilt is a couple of years ago, my mom, my sister, and I all went to my mom's house in St. Ignace, Michigan, and we had a quilty retreat weekend all on our own. And it was so much fun. I was still really learning the ropes with sewing machines, and I had so much fun. And after that weekend, my birthday came up like a couple months later, and my mom and my sister gave me the sewing machine I use. Because before that I was using like a very basic Singer model that was the worst. And so it was really a special thing. Now I just got this out and I noticed some damage. So this is an area where the seam popped. I probably got too close when I stitched it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna find some coordinating embroidery floss, and I'm going to repair that just with like a whip stitch, and then I'll put her back or put her out or do something with it. You can tell the quilts get progressively bigger. This is actually the quilt that has been on my bed, and I took it off just for this, but this is a pattern called Meadowland. It's by Then Came June Patterns, and I used a pattern or like a fat quarter bundle for this, designed by Sarah Watts, and the name of the bundle was Purl, P-U-R-L, because all of the blocks have knitting motifs all over them. So there's balls of yarn, there's things of cotton, there's all sorts of cute things. Here are some of those yarn balls right here. Lots of cute motifs. These are like knit stitches. Pretty cool, huh? So this is the first quilt I made all on my own. And I did this one very interestingly. So I ended up making this quilt into 5 pieces, like 5 columns, and then quilting each column individually, and then using kind of like a modified quilt as you go method to piece those columns together into the whole thing. What that means is that you piece the front with the machine, and then what you have to do is you have to hand sew the back. So you'll see like a bunch of whip stitches. I did that because I didn't think that the quilt would fit my machine. I have a like travel size machine. My mom bought it for me that way because we thought we were going to do like a lot of St. Ignace retreats. The kids got me really busy though, so we haven't done as many as I thought we would. But now that I know with this most recent quilt that can accommodate that, I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. Now that I know that I can make bigger quilts, that the throat of the quilt throat of the machine accommodates that, I probably will be more confident about starting bigger projects. And here's my new quilt and what it would look like were it on a bed. Boy, I'm proud of this. This was a lot of fun to make. We started with the center, and then we would add another band, and then another band, and then this one, which was the hardest one, all these sawtooth stars, and then the border band. And I just think it turned out fantastic. Now, a lot of people, when I post this online, have complimented me on the colors, but I cannot take any credit. This was a project kit that I got, and that's one thing I really like about these Allison Glass projects is that I am really good at following directions. And I like to use called for colors in a lot of my cross stitch pieces. And I like to use called for colors in my quilts too. Really saves me a lot of like agonizing over, will things be executed how I envision them? So anyway, I will not keep this quilt probably out on this bed, but I'm going to leave it there for now just to admire next time I come into my room. So I find quilting to be a really rewarding and fun hobby. I, wish I had more opportunities to quilt. A lot of times when I'm doing my cross stitching, I like to watch on YouTube like Flosstubes from other creators, but I also really like to watch quilting content, and very specifically like sewing room organization videos, because it's fun to see what other people have. I wish I could have a craft room like that. Someday maybe I will, but at this time, my house is small, my kids have space they need, I need to be present for my kids, so that nice thing about that table is I can quilt and I can look outside at my kiddo. I can finish a cross stitch project and I can look outside, and make sure dinner's not burning or something. And so that is just where I am. And I'm just here to show you that you can still make really beautiful things, even if you only have like the corner of a desk or the corner of an old beat up table. You just have to be wise about, putting stuff away between uses so that you don't get overwhelmed with the clutter. Although I do enjoy watching organizational videos. And so if someone wants to mess something up just so they can intentionally clean it and film it, I'm there for that. That would be fun. So, I encourage you to try something that challenges you. you know, maybe that challenge is still within the cross stitch realm where you're gonna maybe try a different kind of way to finish a piece. Or maybe if you've never finished your own piece, you try to a crack at it at the same, like for the first time. I learned a lot of what I do just kind of like through random tutorials. I also learned there's a really, really wonderful finisher. Her name is Vanna Pfeffer, and I'll try to put a link to her page in my description too, but she makes wonderful content regarding finishing projects, and she's very inspirational, and I wish someday that I will be as skilled as Vanna is. So, you know, just keep exploring new ideas of ways you want to, you know, kind of expand your craft. I get a lot of enjoyment out of it, and I think that you would too. So before I leave today, I did want to talk a little bit about what kind of Flosstube I've been watching, because I watched a lot. I didn't get all those stitches in just like dead silence this week. So first off, you probably have run into this person before, you know, I started talking to her, but I have to give a shout out to Beck Stitches Everything. She is awesome. One thing I really like is I like watching, you know, her complete her projects. She's been doing a lot of Mill Hill kits lately, and she even, I think, might have a kit along going on right now. But the other thing I really like about her is that she is really, really engaged with other people. I can't tell you how many little like chitty chatty moments we've had just like through Instagram, like over the last, you know, month or so. I'm just really like excited to get to know her better, and I think that you would like her too, so check her out. Another Flosstuber that I really enjoyed is named Justine. Her channel is also her full name, which is Justine, and I'm sorry if I'm going to mispronounce it. Is it Therian? She just started out, and so if we could get her to 1,000 subscribers, I bet you that would make her day. I think her content is wonderful. She likes to do a lot of the very small count projects, like the 46 counts and the 56 counts, and I just really admire that. It hurts my fingers, and so I haven't really done too many, but I've learned a lot about, like, you know, using the right size needle from, you know, like so that you're not poking into the fabric too much and splitting things, and some of the, you know, products you use when regular embroidery floss is too big. And so I can't wait to see more from you, Justine, and I'm really glad that we're, you know, maybe going to get to know each other. Liz from Elizabeth Ann Can Stitch just put out a really exciting video a couple days ago. So Liz is going to change the focus of her channel to be more what I call multi-craftual, kind of like how I am. I'm excited for that. You know, first off, she did a little Q&A, and I was just really impressed with how gracious she was, because I was like a little like wincy emoji face at some of the questions that people asked her to answer, and that she was willing to address them, like really personal questions about her family and like her physical appearance, you know, which I just think is like hurtful if, you know, and I don't know. I felt sad for her if that made her sad. I thought that it was gracious that she addressed it. But Liz was talking a lot about how there's a lot of challenges associated with, like, okay, I work on my knitting, but I don't have enough content to do a whole video about knitting. And I worked a little on my cross stitch, and I worked a little on my quilting, and I worked a little on my sewing, you know, and that can be really difficult. And that was actually probably why I started my channel how I did, where I'm highlighting all the crafts I do, you know, other things that I do, just because I find that I do kind of go in waves. You know, right now I'm in a very like productive cross stitch season for me, and I have been for several years. But before that, I was really, really prolific at knitting. And, you know, before that, I was really, really into painting. And, you know, and so I do think that there are seasons to how we craft. And I want my channel to change that. I want it to be reflective of what I'm doing, because part of the cool thing of having a Flosstube channel is that you get to kind of look back, like even like my channel's only like 3 or 4 months old, you know, and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember when I worked on that. I remember having fun doing that. And so it's in a way, it's kind of like a journal And it's a journal that I get to participate in with you, because sometimes you ask me questions, non-invasive ones, but like questions about techniques or choices I made with my craft. And then it makes me look at it from a different perspective. And I think that's cool. When you do a Flosstube channel, you open yourself up to criticism. I know that, sometimes people maybe wouldn't understand the context of like comments I make regarding my family, for example. I haven't mentioned it in this video, but I've mentioned it in a couple videos. My younger child, my son, is autistic and he is non-speaking. So when I talk about things like safety and putting things away, that's because I don't want him to have a scary incident where he gets hurt. When he was 8, he was playing with a toy, and it was it was a teacher bell. So like one of those bells that are like on like a dome with a little button that you tap on the top. And the bell came apart in his hands, and one of the pieces fell because he was holding it above his head. He was laying on the floor, and he ended up having a piece like lodged in his throat, and he started choking. And that still today remains the single scariest thing that has ever happened to me as a parent. Luckily the piece stayed in his esophagus and didn't completely obstruct his airway, because I attempted a Heimlich and then I realized I didn't know what I was doing, and I called 911 and they took him to the hospital, and they were able to get an ENT into the hospital. It was a Saturday, and they don't usually do pediatric patients, but they did because of his disability, and they were able to extract it, and he was fine. And we are so grateful, but I am way more careful. And so when you see things, through my house, like the big barrier that I have that keeps him out of the basement because I don't want him to fall down the stairs, I don't want him to get burned on the water heater, that's why it's there. It's not because I'm creating like a bunch of restrictions. It's because I'm trying to open up my house to be as safe as possible for him. So anyway, that was kind of a little sidetrack. And I guess I am open to the criticism. If someone has, ideas that, could help me be a better mom to a kid that I love, like beyond all words, both of my kids. I'm gonna get all teary, so let's move on. But please feel free to reach out. You can reach out to me via my email. I will post it in the description. I also am really active on Instagram. In fact, you guys probably saw a lot of the projects I talked about because I posted them in my stories this week. I've been posting my whip miss in July and my summer wean progress every day, and that's been a lot of fun. Accountability really makes me like productive. I think that's a lot of fun. I really appreciate you. Thank you for watching today. If you made it this far, let me know. Do you think that, having other craft content is like boring for you? Like, is there something I could do to maybe make these videos more entertaining? Or, let me know what you're working on. It doesn't all have to be cross stitching. And, I don't know, I might need to add another hobby here one of these days, because I certainly don't have enough to do, right? So, hey, if you liked this video, I would love it if you hit that little like button. It makes me really happy to see that engagement. And it does kind of help the algorithm in mysterious ways, and so I can connect with more people. I really like it when I get a comment from someone that's like, hey, I just found your channel and I really like this. And, it just makes my heart really happy. It makes me feel less isolated, that we are part of a community. And by like vast margin, most people in the cross stitch community are lovely people who I want to get to know better. And I appreciate you. So anyway, I'll get off my soapbox. I'm going to get back to some stitching. I hope you have a great week and take care, friends. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.